Whatever your opinion of 1994's Star Trek Generations, the film does introduce us to the Enterprise-B, long theorized to be an Excelsior class. But it also throws us a problem of the starship design variety. Can we solve the problem of Deck 15? I still consider the Excelsior II-class Enterprise to be a new addition to Star Trek canon, in spite of Star Trek Generations being 30 years old. That's 30 years old, or if you're watching this in the future, more than 30 years old. Be that as it may, there is a clash between a line of dialogue and the visual evidence on screen concerning the location of Deck 15. In this video, we will consider the problem, look at the Excelsior class size issue, and then ponder over 3 possible solutions. Trapped in the energy whirlpool of the Nexus, the Enterprise must escape before she is destroyed. Scotty, as one might expect, has a solution, in which they simulate a torpedo blast using a resonance burst from the main deflector dish. Scotty has clearly been reading too much TNG technobabble. In order to carry out his plan, someone has to go down to the deflector relays, which are on Deck 15, Section 21 Alpha. That someone is Kirk. Amazingly, Kirk is suddenly an expert at not only operating deflector relays, but he even knows his way around an Excelsior II-class starship. What a legend! But are there no engineers in that part of the ship? Everything else might be waiting for Tuesday, but a starship launch must include engineers. Is the internal communications system offline? Why can't Harriman call down to engineering and order someone to attend to the relays? Why does Kirk, who seems to have been in retirement since the decommissioning of the Enterprise A, go down? The answer is, of course, so he can be apparently killed on his own, so the rest of the story can be told. A ribbon of energy strikes the Enterprise. The damaged area? Sections 20 through 28 on decks 13, 14 and 15. We see the damage. It's located here. But if this is deck 15, then the Enterprise-B has a problem. If this is Deck 15, then the Enterprise-B, and by extension the Excelsior class in general, must be smaller than we might suppose. Of course, we are talking about a fictitious spacecraft, so the Excelsior class dimensions can never be objectively measured, unlike a real ship. The most accepted dimensions are a length of 470 meters with a beam of 186 meters and a height of 78 meters from keel to nacelle tops. One source, the Deep Space Nine Technical Manual, gives a length of about 511 meters and a beam of 195 meters with a height of 86 meters, although these dimensions have been questioned. The Constitution II class had 23 decks and was 75 meters in height, a mere 3 meters less than the more accepted dimension for the Excelsior class. So if these dimensions are correct, then the film's dialogue might also be correct. This could well be Deck 15, especially if the space between decks are more generous than aboard the Constitution II class. There are 2 on-screen objections to this conclusion. Objection 1, we see Chekhov, Scotty and Harriman standing at the hole in the side of the ship, and so an idea of her size can be ascertained. As the website X*Scientia points out, if the image is accurate, then the Enterprise-B would have to be 700 meters in length. And if this was the case, then there would be considerably more decks between the bridge, Deck 1, and the position of the deflector relays supposedly on Deck 15. Objection 2. According to the bridge MSD, the Excelsior II class has roughly 34 decks, which would put the deflector relays on Deck 29. 34 decks would make the ship considerably more than 78 meters high. how much more important is the dialogue in a film over the visuals? Or do the visuals take priority? When there is a contradiction, which one overrides the other? It can be argued that the dialogue certainly overrides anything printed on the master situation display, which remains in the background of the scene. But there remains this image. How do we solve this problem in universe? Here are 3 possible solutions, but there are a few objections. Solution 1. The decks on the Enterprise-B are counted from the bottom to the top. The snag is that the turbolift doors on the bridge are clearly marked as Deck 1. Solution 2. The Enterprise-B is smaller than the other Excelsior-class ships. This theory is contradicted, however, by the on-screen shot of Chekhov, Scotty, and Harriman. Solution 3. The decks on the Enterprise-B are tall, with a great deal of headroom. The 2 rows of windows to be seen on the rim of the saucer suggest 2 decks of 2 or 3 meters each, but they do not necessarily dictate the average. Other decks on the Excelsior class might be taller, and those in the dorsal might be anything. Indeed, there are no windows in the dorsal, and so our imaginations can fill this space with as many or as few decks as we like. There is no external clue to contradict us. This third solution seems to be the best, although it is not ideal. There is a fourth solution, of course, and that is to sit back with the Jaggers and Taggers and take what the film presents us with at face value. But where's the fun in that?